the EP Podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at the eppodcast.com.
Today on the show, a couple of different guests going to be in here. Pyeisha Allen from the Evergreen Park Youth Department is running a really cool event. Kids are going to be sliding down hills on tubes.
Ooh, I want to go.
I got details for you, Hannah. And we're also going to be talking to a guy who trended all over Twitter, never been to Chicago, and surprised his father in Buffalo, New York, with his first trip to Chicago to see his team that he's loved his entire life and never seen in person in Chicago, the Chicago White Sox.
Aww.
I talked to him on the Sox of the Basement podcast, but the interview was just so cool. Just a couple of minutes, I wanted to share it on this show as well. Dad was crying, and like he surprised him with these tickets, and we're going to get all the details on it. That's coming up as well. Lots to talk about. We got another $100 winner that's coming up. We got a new segment called Meet the Neighbors, okay, here in Evergreen Park. A lot going on in the EP podcast, but I do want to kick off with something that I read on Facebook this week concerning the show.
Okay. You're somebody when you get mentioned on Facebook.
That's how I always equate my life, is the amount of mentions I get on Facebook. It was posted in a Facebook group called We Grew Up in EP, and it's one of the places where I post a link every week for the EP podcast.
Sure.
So people know where it is, so people can find it, so people can learn where the podcast is and start following it. And I don't know the gentleman that posted it, but his name is Rich. I don't want to give out a full name in case the guy doesn't want his full name. But Rich took like a screenshot of our Facebook page and then wrote something to everybody about the EP podcast. Now, I don't know.
Really?
This is what he wrote, okay? He wrote, I've been enjoying the EP podcast. It's a little frenetic.
Frenetic.
And maybe some of the more seasoned citizens will find it a little bracing. But dang if it's not entertaining. I'm looking forward to meeting the MC. Now, that's interesting. First of all, we can hang out, Rich. That's cool. I'm totally...
The bar is open.
Yeah, bar's open, man.
Bar's open.
We'll make that happen.
Bar.
Yeah, we'll make that happen, okay?
Plenty of room.
But then I had to look up the word frenetic. Because I was like, is this an insult? Is it like, what is frenetic? And I couldn't figure it out. And, I have a broadcast journalism degree. And I'm like,
going to say,
I'm not exactly sure. Like, I have a pretty good idea. And then I read it and I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought it meant. Fast and energetic in a rather wild and uncontrolled way.
Wild and
Synonyms
uncontrolled.
are frenzied, hectic, hyperactive. Am I hyperactive?
No, not you.
Am I confused? Confused? Turbulent? Tumultuous? Intense?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
I'm intense? You think I'm intense?
You're intense. You're yelling into the microphone.
I'm
just
not
talking.
yelling. This is how I talk. I'm frenetic.
You're frenetic.
I don't know if this
Thank you,
show's
Rich,
frenetic.
for the word of the day. Frenetic,
Yeah,
everybody.
frenetic. The EP podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we're frenetic. All right, Evergreen Park, it's time to give you this week's word on the street. The Evergreen Park Recreation Department is presenting their Family Flake Fest Saturday, February 9th from 1 to 6 p.m. free admission. There's a tentative schedule out already. They're going to be doing all kinds of cool stuff. Over at Yukich, where the ice rink is, they've got Learn to Skate, a pre-hockey clinic, the Youth Speed Skating Classic with a helmet required, bake sale, cookie decorating, face painting, Flake Fest crafts, Jim Long ice sculpting, hot cocoa, and open skate that's free for everybody for like 5 hours out there. And you get the Evergreen Park High School Snow Queen in Court. Here's a fun thing. There's going to be cooking classes held at the community center for kids, kindergarten through 5th grade, once a month. First one is this Saturday, the 19th, from 9:30 to 11 a.m. It's $20 a class. There's 4 of them in total over the next 4 months. First one this Saturday the 19th with head chef Miss Michelle. The kids are going to learn the basics of cooking as well as baking, and they're going to be able to eat whatever they make in class. That's this week's Word on the Street. If you have something you want to share with the Word on the Street, give us a call. Anytime, leave a message. 708-459-8406. You might hear yourself giving us the word on the EP podcast.
Look at all those people in this great suburb, driving down 95th and Kedzie. What a great place. It's called Evergreen Park, but we know it better as the EP. You got Porter Collins for great drinks, that's definitely the place to be. Or Klein Park over off of Homan, but it will always be called Circle Park to me. We've got a stopover at Unidad. Stop over for a drink or a bite to eat. We got so many great places to dine here over in the EP. We're known for more than just the Unabomber. Remember Ted Kaczynski? You guys might even remember that big old rooster on 95th Street. It's all part of EP's history. So listen up to the EP podcast. You might be asking why. Because we talk about all things and we celebrate all the great things in the 60805. It's the EP podcast. All things Evergreen Park. It's the EP podcast. Evergreen Park.
Our good friend Pyeisha Allen, director of the youth department here in Evergreen Park, is back at my 9-foot homemade oak bar in my basement. Pyeisha, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. I love how you came down here with a caveat of like you're sponsored. I thought that was funny. Like I'm sponsored. You're sponsored by somebody. Because you come down here and you're nice enough to join me and you're nice enough to fill everybody in on what's going on with the youth department. Before we get started about all the exciting stuff, pages and pages of it, right?
Not too much today, but just enough.
Give me the plug first.
My advertisement?
Yeah, your advertisement. Give me your plug.
Thank you so much, and it's super quick, guys. My father's exterminating business is called MEP Exterminating, which is located right in Evergreen Park, has been around about 17 years. MEP Exterminating provides excellent pest control services. If you want a pest to flee, call the professionals at MEP. They can be reached at 708-422-9902.
And it's an Evergreen Park business, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. I like it. I don't have any pests, though.
I hope not.
I hope not, too. I don't have any pests.
I'm in the basement.
Yeah, you don't want to. Oh.
I have to call my dad.
What's going on at the youth department?
Oh, what's new at the youth department, Chris, is we're planning a snow tubing field trip, which will take place January 19th. You actually can register at the Community Center, Youth Department, Room 105, before January 11th. The field trip is $30. If you want to purchase a helmet, that's an additional $6. So money, permission slip, and waiver all are due January 11th before 5 p.m.
What is snow tubing? Like they just get in a tube and they slide down a hill?
That's exactly
what it is.
It's like the safest
Yeah,
thing
I
to
would
do.
think that's fairly safe. Are there helmets just in case?
For an additional $6.
For $6 extra dollars, you can protect your brain.
Yes.
All right. It sounds like a scam. I think the helmet should just be given out, but okay. So for $6 extra, you get to protect your brain. You get in a tube. You get pushed down a hill.
No pushing, Chris.
Nobody pushes you?
No.
How do you get any momentum? Do you run with the tube and then jump into it? Have you done this before?
I haven't done this
Is this
before.
like a big giant tube with like 7 people in the tube, or is it just like one person inside of an inner tube?
One person inside of a tube.
Okay, what about snow?
You do not need snow for this field trip because, well, you do need snow, Chris. Let me correct myself.
Yeah, it's a snow tubing trip.
But
I've
Villa
noticed.
Olivia has said if the weather is good, they can provide their own snow.
They can provide their own snow if the weather is cold enough.
Yeah.
And if for some reason they sign up for this trip and it isn't good enough, then we'll know in advance. It won't be like they get on a bus, they go all the way there, and then they find out they can't go down the hill.
You'll know in
Are
advance.
you going to take care of that?
That's correct.
I just want to make sure. I want to make sure your trip goes okay.
No, if
Nobody
it's canceled,
wants to
they'll
get
know
on a
in
bus,
advance.
drive all the way to something, you get there, there's no snow on the hill. You're like, but you can make the snow. You're like, no. Can't make snow today. And then you got to ride back with these kids all the way back. They're going to hate you. So I'm trying to look out for you here.
No, we'll know in advance.
Okay, you'll know in advance.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so once again, if they want to, the magic phone number to call if they want to call you and ask you any questions about this snow tubing trip on the 19th.
708-229-3377.
What else do we have?
Last thing, Chris, our open gym. It's been a hit, guys. Friday nights, open gym is for grades 5th through 8th. It's 6 to 8 p.m. at the Activity Center located at 3220 West 98th Street. It's $5 per person. Again, this is 5th through 8th grade, our open gym Friday night.
What do they got in the gym? Just basketball, or is there other stuff?
This is just basketball.
What kind of response do you get for the open gym? You get some kids in there?
Yes, we've actually been getting a great response. The kids love it. I just want to continue to promote it. And if you hear this podcast, send your kids to open gym if they're interested in basketball, because it's an opportunity not just to play basketball, but a chance to actually hang out with friends.
Have you heard about the magnet thing?
No.
You haven't heard about the magnet thing?
No. Tell me about it.
You've not been listening to your EP podcast.
I've been
I am
busy.
so disappointed in you. It's only a half hour, Pyeisha. I advertised your father's business. You don't even listen to the show. You'll listen to this one because you're on it. Is that how it is?
No,
just only if you're
not.
on it?
Remember, I was telling you I was
Why do you
having
hurt
some
me so?
complications with my phone, and they don't come right to the phone anymore.
You can get it on your phone. You can get it on your computer.
I'm going to do a better job.
Okay, I'm going to help you out with that. But here's the thing. We have these EP podcast car magnets. You put it on the back of your car. Every week, I drive around. I find somebody with the magnet. I give them $100 cash. We had a winner last week. We got a winner coming up on the show this week.
Well, you know where to find me.
$100
from 9 to
cash.
5.
Right. Okay. But you got to have the thing on there. And Porter Cullen's has a stack of them for people who need them. And Unidad Restaurant has a stack of them if you want to pick them up in there. And the EP Library has a stack of them.
Okay.
There's places everywhere. I'm not going to make you do it. Like, go to another place. I'll give you one before you leave, even though you don't listen to my show anymore.
That's not true.
No, that's fine. No, it's fine.
True,
No, it's
Chris.
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
That's
great.
not true.
Yeah, that's great. What's the name? What's the name of that exterminating company I give the free advertising to?
MEP Exterminating.
Right, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Chris.
It's fine.
I love your show.
Hannah, Pyeisha, you there listening to the EP podcast? How you doing? The EP podcast is a member of the Evergreen Park Chamber of Commerce. We're starting to settle in here in Evergreen Park. Be official. I figure since we're on the scene now with all the other establishments in Evergreen Park, we should meet the neighbors. So it's now time for a new segment on the EP podcast called Meet the Neighbors. I went out with my little recorder, just want to go out and say hi to people. First person didn't understand what a podcast was. Second person saw the recorder and told me to get out and call them on Tuesday. The third place I walked into spoke perfect English until I told them that I was from a podcast. And then nobody spoke any English. It was really weird. But finally I found a neighbor that wanted to talk to me. And of course they talked to me, because it is one of the classiest, well-known places in Evergreen Park. So here's our first edition of Meet the Neighbors. We're doing Meet the Neighbors, and today we're walking up and down 95th Street, right around where Little Company of Mary is. I'm talking to Danny from Los Angeles. Danny, how long have you been here?
We've been here now going on 64 years.
And how long of those years have you been here?
I've been here almost 30 years now already.
I have friends that moved away from the South Side who, when they come down to visit, get to Los Angeles. This is one of those places that nobody really realizes how great it is till they have it. And then I have people who are like, hey, I'm coming down to your house. Can you order one? So it's waiting for me.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we've been here so long. People have grown up eating our food, eating our pizza, and oftentimes when they come back into town, this is the first place they stop, even before they go home or see family and friends. They come here first, and then they, bring the food to wherever they're going, but they have to stop here first, absolutely.
And one of the most family-friendly places ever, too, because I always have, the kids in here, and it doesn't matter if, your kid is kind of, being loud.
And absolutely not. I mean, it's a family atmosphere because it's our family, that has been here since the beginning, and so we understand what it means to have family, to have kids, and we don't look down on that at all, just the opposite. That's the kind of thing we look forward to.
You got your delivery driver, Bill, here. Bill, how hard is it when it's snowing outside to get these pizzas?
It's rough out there today.
Yeah?
Yeah, anytime you get a lot of snow, it can be, it's hard to stop.
Do you get more orders, though, because of the snow? Because people are like, I'm not going to cook and I'm not going out?
People would rather have the delivery than to come in. But we still got a lot of customers coming in.
Well, guys, thanks for letting me come by and say hi.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
It's the middle of the show song. 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 Chris had nothing to put here, so he put this song. It's the middle of the show song.
An interesting phenomenon happened earlier this week in Evergreen Park. And I love it when it happens. It doesn't happen every year, but it always happens around this time of year in the EP. and it's when the Christmas tree tumbleweeds come out. Now, you have to have the perfect storm. You have to have, first of all, Christmas season ending and people getting rid of their natural trees and putting them out in front of their house. And most people do that on the weekends. Mm-hmm. People work, and on the weekends when they do that major thing of getting all the lights down, getting the tree down, all that other stuff. So if you have a natural tree, you go and you drag it out front. Now, some quadrants in the EP get their garbage picked up right away on Monday. Some do not. The one that I'm in doesn't get it picked up until Thursday. Ooh. So now the tree is sitting out there on the side of the curb. And this is where you have a several day period where if you get some wind, the fun begins. And we got some wind.
Oh, we did the other night.
We got some big wind the other day in Evergreen Park, okay? And the guy 2 doors down had his Christmas tree sitting out there on the curb. And then all of a sudden it was in my driveway.
The whole tree?
The whole tree. Then it was in front of the neighbor's house on the other side of me, so it's moved 3 houses down.
Oh my God.
Okay. Then it made a turn. And it turned off of 99th Street. It headed down the block towards Circle Park. It made it to Circle Park at about 6 p.m.
Did you follow the tree?
No, I'm doing things during the day, and every time I drive by my house or if I look out my window, it's moving. See what I'm saying? So now I go out to go do something, and I come back, and as I'm coming back, it is bouncing across Circle Park.
It can't be that big of a tree.
It's on a roll. No, it was a good size, living room tree.
Wow.
The wind was that good, and it was in Circle Park, and it got the vortex. So I'm laughing. I'm like, Christmas tree tumbleweed. And as I'm laughing about it, another one starts coming across the park, too. There's 2 Christmas tree tumbleweeds blowing across Circle Park or Klein Park or whatever you call it. And then I come around the block, and I get down 99th Street, and I almost run into one rolling down 99th. And this is not the original neighbors, because I know his is already turned. And it was the night of the Christmas tree tumbleweeds. And I bring this up, and nobody else noticed it.
No one else.
Nobody noticed this.
So what did the neighbor think, that his tree just disappeared? Someone came and just picked it up?
He probably figured, just like when I put, I mean, look, I live on 99th Street.
Like the scrappers that come by.
I live on 99th Street. If I put something out on 99th Street,
it's gone
in 10 minutes. There was a time where I had a couch. My mother-in-law came and stayed with me. Disgusting woman. She came and stayed with me, and she had a dog that peed all over the couch. And I was like, ugh. They're from West Virginia.
It was a big dog, too.
The dogs pee in the house in West Virginia. The people pee out of the house in the outhouse. So the dog peed on the couch. And I was like, I'm done with this couch. And I had the couch moved out there. Now, this is a couch with a giant circle stained into it. And I put it out in front and sat down on the porch. It was like summertime. And I was like, somebody will come get that in 10 minutes. My son comes out and goes, what are you doing, Dad? I'm like, just sitting here having a beer, waiting for the first person who's going to come up. Guy pulls up right away, starts looking at the couch, drives off. While he's gone, somebody else pulls up and starts getting ready to load the couch. The other guy comes back now with his buddy because he's needed him to lift it, and now they start having an argument in front of my house over who gets the couch.
With the pee.
That they're scrapping off the front of my lawn, okay? So this guy lives on 99th too. So he's probably like, somebody needed a good tree. Somebody needed a good tree.
They went to Circle Park and turned the corner.
Here's the funniest part. I know I saw his tree leave the block, make a turn, and head down the street. But then another one ended up on our block. He took that tree, not realizing it was somebody else's tree.
Are you serious?
And dragged it over in front of his house because he figured, my tree only moved like 2 houses.
Wow.
And I'm like, doesn't he even notice that tree's wrapped with something on the bottom and his wasn't? This is what I do with my time. I make podcasts and I track Christmas tree tumbleweeds blowing around the neighborhood.
And watch people pick up peed on couches.
Maybe I am a little frenetic.
You think?
Hannah, it's time to give away $100. Another week, another $100 in cash. And it goes to somebody with an EP podcast car magnet on the back of their car, or truck, or SUV, tractor. I don't care what you're driving. If we see it during the week, we pull over, we give you $100. And I poorly planned this one this week. I had so much going on, I didn't get a chance to go out until Saturday, and it was a blizzard.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about the reactions. I wish I could be
they all
in the car hiding.
They all look at me like I'm trying to kill them.
Well,
They're like, who is this
imagine.
weirdo?
I called that.
The guy the first time when I walked up, he had a wrench in his hand, and he took a defensive posture. He was fixing his car, and I'm just driving down the street, and I'm like, oh my God, the guy's got an EP podcasting. And I come around the block, and I park the car, and I come walking over with my little recorder, and I come walking up, and I'm like, hey guys, what's up? And he like turned around with like a wrench in his hand. I'm like, he's gonna kill me. So I'm very nervous doing this. Like
This frenetic guy is trying to give you
I'm
money.
not frenetic. Anyway, I'm in the blizzard. I've slid all over the street several times just driving around looking for our EP podcast magnet. So when I finally saw one, it was in a driveway, and it was getting so bad I was not going to stop. I would have had an accident trying to hand it out. So I came back around the next day on Sunday at the spot, found it, knocked on this poor woman's door. Well, I'm not going to say poor woman. She's $100 richer. And she was very excited, and this is what happened. Driving down the street, and this is the first time I'm giving away money inside of a home. Jill?
Yes, hi.
Hi. Yeah, I'm driving down the street yesterday in a blizzard, and I see the EP podcast magnet, and I was like, I'm going to slide off the road and kill myself. So I came back around today, and the magnet is still on there, and I've got money for you.
Awesome. I love money.
So for keeping an EP podcast magnet on the back of your car, $100 cash to help pay off the bills.
That's awesome.
And if we pass anybody on the street, they get it. And you know what? Keep it on, because every time we do a giveaway from any place whatsoever, then we're going to be giving it to people that have the EP podcast magnet. So don't take it off. You can win again someday.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Where'd you pick it up at?
I picked it up at Porter Collins in Evergreen Park.
It's 2 in a row. They're lucky. Get the Porter Collins and get your magnets. They got the lucky magnets out there.
Thank you so much. How exciting.
Yeah?
Everyone listen to the EP podcast. It's worth money to you.
Remember to get your EP podcast car magnets. They're at Unidad, 3339 West 95th Street. Porter Collins, 3541 West 99th Street. Or the EP Library at 9400 South Troy. They run out there the most. I'm constantly refilling them at the EP Library. So if you don't find them at the library, hit the other spots. Another winner next week from the EP podcast. And all you got to do is give us a little free advertising. We're found everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at theeppodcast.com. This is the EP Podcast, but I also do other podcasts down here at my 9-foot homemade oak bar in my basement in Evergreen Park. One of them is a Chicago White Sox fan podcast, which has really taken off in the last year. It's called Sox in the Basement, and you can find it the same way that you find the EP Podcast. It's everywhere. I liked this interview I did so much I wanted to share it. It's a guy from another part of the country with a dad who's been a lifelong White Sox fan forever, and they've never been to Chicago to see a game. It's only a few minutes. I think you'll enjoy it. Check it out. Joining us on the phone line right now on Sox in the Basement, Brad Biley is on the line. Now, if you're on White Sox Twitter, you might have seen at some point on your Twitter feed around Christmas a video in which Brad surprised his father, Mark, with White Sox tickets and airplane tickets for him to go see his first White Sox game ever. Brad, how are you?
Doing great. Really appreciate you having me on the show today.
I appreciate you coming on. Now, explain this to me. First of all, how old is your dad, if you don't mind me asking?
My dad will be 60 years old in October of this year, so he's 59 right now.
So how does he never see a White Sox game up until now? Like, how did he become a fan without, like, I mean, you know, we're not like the Yankees. Like, people don't just like, grow up someplace and never go see a game and just become Sox fans. Like, we're almost dragged to White Sox games by our parents and made to watch them and told, this is your team, son. And so I'm in shock that he hadn't seen one yet.
So it's actually funny you say it, because in the initial tweet, I had said that my dad's been a fan for 59 years because that's how long he's been alive. But he's recently corrected me on that. So when he was about 10 years old, him and his brothers basically picked a team, and growing up in just outside of Buffalo, New York, the closest team was either Toronto or, you know, you got Cleveland, you got Pittsburgh. So my dad picked the White Sox. Don't really know why, but I do know that since that day, he has been a diehard Sox fan and continues to be to this day.
So growing up in Buffalo, New York, he doesn't pick a team that's closer geographically, just out of the thin, like, was it just, have you ever asked him, like, what the reason was? Is it, like, the uniforms? Was there a player? Was he a big, like, you know, Louis Aparicio fan? Like, what could it have been? Do you know?
Yeah, I assume it's got to come back to players of the time, going back to who he watched growing up. But I will tell you that from, the day I was born, I'm 28 now, we've just been a White Sox house. So it's never been a close second. There's no close teams just because we're in the upper East Coast here. It's always been a Chicago White Sox house.
Dude, that's awesome. So have you ever been to a White Sox game before?
We've seen them out in Toronto. So we have gone as a family to see them play the Jays out in Toronto, but we've never been to Chicago. So my dad doesn't like to fly. He doesn't really like to travel much. So it's never been the right opportunity to get out to Chicago. But we've, certain things happened throughout the course of last year where it just felt right that now was the right time to make this happen.
That's really awesome. I'm hoping that you get to see Manny Machado in a White Sox uniform. I'm still holding out hope that that's going to happen.
It'd be great.
Do you know when you're going to end up going? Like, do you already know the date of the tickets, or did you just get like vouchers, or how did you give this to them here for Christmas?
Yeah. So what ended up happening, just to kind of take it all the way back to the beginning here, is for a wedding gift, I got married last October, and my wife got me tickets to the Notre Dame Florida State game in South Bend. So we're driving out and we're about to leave. And unfortunately, I had an uncle pass away. And in true Rudy fashion, we went to my uncle's wake. My aunt pulled us both aside and, basically said, you got to just live life and make every minute count. So the whole way to South Bend, Rachel and I talked about getting my dad these tickets and figuring this out because it hit us both in a tough way with my Uncle Bob here. So what ended up happening is the whole way there, the whole way back, that's all we talked about. Got back to Buffalo and ended up buying a couple plane tickets from Southwest. And that's what we have right now. So when he opened that box on Christmas Eve, we didn't actually have tickets at the time. We knew we were going to be there the last weekend in July. We're going to go see the Twins game, but individual seats weren't on sale at the time. So we just had plane tickets to Chicago.
Last weekend of July, Twins. That's a pretty good one to go bring him to, because I don't know if you get it out in Buffalo, but we don't like the Twins here on the south side of Chicago. We're not big fans of the Twins. So that's a fun game to go and see. It's going to be a fun weekend to go see. Hopefully they're still doing stuff. You'll have Eloy there by that point. You're going to have a good weekend, I would think, when you get to go.
What's crazy about the outreach on Twitter is I mentioned that we were going to the game on Saturday in one comment to somebody, and the replies after that, I've had probably 5 people reach out offering me season tickets for the game on Friday, that if my dad and I wanted to go, they got 2 extra tickets, or they're willing to not go to that Friday night game if him and I want to go to an extra one.
If for some reason one of the members of Sox in the Basement is out there on that Saturday night, we will find you on Twitter because beers are on us, okay? I don't know what games we're going to be at, but honestly, you deserve one for doing it for your dad. Your dad deserves one for being a White Sox fan, sight unseen of the team for 59 years. That's pretty crazy. So, this guy, there should be a party for him when he shows up, I think.
Back when the Sox won the World Series, they actually won it on his birthday.
October 26th. Greatest day ever. It. Well, Brad, I know you have it pinned on your Twitter feed, and we've retweeted it already before, but if anybody wants to go see it, it's at Brad Bailey. Basically, it's Brad Bailey, but switch the I and the A in his last name, and it's Brad Bailey. And go on there, and you can see it because he pinned it right up at the top of his Twitter. So if you've never seen the video of him giving his dad these tickets and telling him, we're taking you to your first White Sox game ever, it's something worth seeing. It was fun to watch, and right away I was like, we got to have him on the show. We definitely have to have him. So you know what? First of all, you're a good son. And secondly, I hope that they give him a winner because this guy deserves it. I'm almost penciling in the White Sox for a win on that date.
Me too. I hope so as well. But it's certainly going to be a great trip. We're looking forward to everything that Chicago has to offer, especially the game.
It's 30 minutes. We're out of here. Hannah, thank you again for joining me at my 9-foot homemade oak bar in my basement here in Evergreen Park.
Anytime.
Okay. Thank you very much to Pyeisha Allen. Thank you very much to all of our guests that we had today and all the people that were on and of course our new $100 winner. Remember, any contest we have for the EP podcast, you need to have an EP podcast car magnet. And I just want to give a little word of advice to you. If you get a new one or if you have one, make sure that you're bending them to stick them on the car. I just figured this out recently. When the manufacturer made the first run of these, they came out curved outwards. So the problem is if you don't bend it and you stick it on your car, the edges aren't stuck to the car. Eventually water gets in there, snow, whatever like that, and they fall off. Now it's free, doesn't cost you anything, it costs me money because I got to keep making more of them, but it doesn't cost you anything. But if you want to make sure that you have it on there, just give it a little bend. You know, just kind of, if you look at it, it's curved. I'm going to all the new ones that we're sending out to the places you can pick them up, the EP Library, Porter Cullen's, Unidad Restaurant. If you go to any one of those places and you pick it up, the new ones that I'm dropping off there are going to be curved the right way. But there are a few floating out there still. Make sure that you curve it back. Of all the things I planned, I got to get it designed. I got to have proofs made. I got to find the right price. I got to make sure it works. I never thought, make sure that it's curved the right way. You know what I'm saying? I never thought that. Obviously, we all learned something new, and I learned something with this one. So if you lost it, go get another one. That's why it fell off. If you didn't lose it and you have it on the back of your car, just double check it. You might have to just give it a little bit of bend in towards the car. It works like a charm, and then it just sticks. It's just because of the way that they were made. We will fix that in future batches, but make sure that you go out and get one because it's the only way you can win because we have a new $100 winner next week.
Yes.
Which means sometime this week I'm going to find them with their EP Podcast car magnet and scare the bejesus out of them.
Hopefully they don't have a wrench.
Because I'm frenetic.
You're very frenetic, but you have money.
I don't know what that means. Frenetic.
High energy.
I'm frenetic.
Frantic.
What the heck does frenetic mean?
Another show is wrapped up. Another show's in the books. Another show is wrapped up. And then by the looks, it's gonna be a good one. And we'll see you next week. And the nudist basement. And the nudist basement. Another show is wrapped up. Another show is wrapped up. Another show is wrapped up. And it's in the books. Another show is wrapped up. Another show is wrapped up. And by the looks, it's gonna be a good one. Nudist basement. Broadcast basement. The nudist basement. The broad basement. Slancha. That was like Dropkick Murphys or something, right? I felt like it.
The EP Podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at the eppodcast.com.